evening. Welcome to Primetime News on TV1. We're coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Piruni Karunaratna. Here are tonight's top stories. An operational mechanism beyond the regular state mechanism must be implemented to restore public life, President says in Kandy.
එහෙම හිතලා මේ මාසේ වැඩ කරොත් අපිට මම හිතන්නේ මේ ඔක්කොම ආපහු යථාවත් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට පස්සේ නැවත ජනවාරි මාසේ ඉඳන් අපි සුපුරුදු රාජ්‍ය යාන්ත්‍රයට යමු.
Circular issued detailing aid to those affected by the disaster. Various forms of relief planned for the public. Inspector General of Police issues directives to prevent the forcible seizure of aid consignments being transported to disaster-affected communities. Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra continues a delivery to disaster-affected regions. Reaches Kutmale after challenging journey. Death toll of disaster situation rises. Efforts to restore normalcy continue. 2 fishing vessels carrying ice and heroin apprehended by the Navy in Cultivation. On to those stories in detail. President Anurakkumara Dissanayake emphasized the need for an operational mechanism that brings together all stakeholders, going beyond the regular state mechanism to restore public life after the disaster situation. He made these remarks while attending the Kandy District Coordination Committee meeting.
The meeting held at the Kandy District Secretariat was attended by ministers, members of parliament representing the district, Secretary to the Ministry of Finance Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, ministry secretaries and state officials.
Our usual approach has been for each department or institution to handle its own issues. For example, the water board would manage its problems and the irrigation department would address its own matters. However, in this exceptional situation, we cannot rely on the regular mechanism. We need an operational approach. For this, we require the support of the Tri-Forces, police, volunteers and the equipment and officers from divisional secretariats that were not affected by the floods. When planning programs and setting goals, we must treat this not as normal work but as a coordinated operation. Most objectives are normally designed based on individual department capacities, but in this case, we need something beyond the regular work, a fully operational mechanism. If we adopt this approach, I believe we will be able to restore conditions within this month. After January, we can return to the regular mechanisms we normally follow.
එහෙම හිතලා මේ මාසේ වැඩ කරොත් අපිට මම හිතන්නේ මේ ඔක්කොම ආපහු යථාවත් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට පස්සේ නැවත ජනවාරි මාසේ ඉඳන් අපි සුපුරුදු රාජ්‍ය යාන්ත්‍රයට යමු නේද?
The President's attention was also drawn to the damage caused to houses in the district and the resettlement of those affected.
Out of the 1,800 houses that have been completely damaged, we cannot yet determine how many can be restored to their original state and how many needs to be resettled in a new area. We don't have enough data for that. However, a portion of the families will not be able to return to their previous homes and we shouldn't send them.
රජයේ ඉඩම් විදියට විශාල වශයෙන් තියෙන්නේ කුණ්ඩසාලේ විතරයි අනිත් ඒවා ගොඩාක් LRC ඉඩම් තියෙන්නේ.
නෑ අපි කියන්නේ මෙහෙමයි. ඔය අපේ සමහර ඉඩම් එකක් තියෙනවා LRC නම් ඉඩම් LRC එකේ. ජනවාසම ඉඩම්. එතකොට අපි හරියටම මේ අය පදිංචි කරන්න පුළුවන්.
No, here's what we are saying. We have some LRC land. We need to relocate at least 900 families from their current homes. For those whose houses are completely destroyed, we need to provide state land, whether under the LRC, Janavasama or NLEB. Tell us and we'll coordinate with the relevant authorities to provide the land. For house construction, we've decided to provide a compensation of 5 million rupees. If there is no land available nearby, we will give the 5 million rupees for them to purchase land. Our priority, however, is to provide state land to build their homes with the given allowance. Even when providing the allowance, it should be done in at least 3 phases. We cannot simply give the full 5 million at once. Building the house is the priority. Some may spend less than 5 million, others more, but the process must be monitored closely.
ඕනනම් මිලියන 5ට වඩා ටිකක් අඩුවෙන් හදා ගන්න පුළුවන්. තව කෙනෙකුට මිලියන 50ට වඩා මිලියන 5ට වඩා වැඩියෙන් හදා ගන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි නිවස හැදෙන එක අධීක්ෂණය කරන්න ඕන.
විශාල හානියක් මේ වෙනකොට අම්බුලාවේ සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා. කුෂිකර්ම අමාත්‍යාංශයෙන් හදපු ගොවිස වෙන මධ්‍යස්ථානයේ W15 කියලා හෝටලයක් දැන් හදලා ඒකත් නාය ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා.
දැන් අපිට අවශ්‍යකම තියෙන මේ ෂණික එකනේ.
We need immediate solutions, but we also require a long-term plan to minimize harm to lives and property. We have been discussing with the ADB, particularly regarding the Central Highlands, to properly study the area and identify any zones that need relocation. I know this cannot be done in a single year, but even over a few years, we should focus on restoring and rehabilitating the damaged Central Highlands. That is how the program should be designed. We also need to investigate who authorized these illegal constructions, which Pradeshia Sabhas approved them, and who provided electricity. These approvals were handled very improperly. Therefore, the Electricity Board must stop granting connections for unauthorized constructions, and Pradeshia Sabhas should also not permit such developments.
කිසිසේත්ම අනවශ්‍ය රිදි කිරීමට විදුලිය දීම නතර කරන්න ඕන. ප්‍රාදේශීය සභා වලින් අවසර දීම නතර කරන්න ඕන.
The President emphasized the need to identify cultivable lands and prioritize their use, while also seeking clarification on the process for providing compensation to farmers.
පොහොරසානාදාර ලබා දීම හරහා කොච්චර බීම් ප්‍රමාණයක් වගා කරනවද කියන නාම ලේඛන
බීම් ප්‍රමාණය අඳුරගෙන තියෙනවා, ගොවියාගේ නාම ලේඛනය තියෙනවා, account number පවා තියෙනවා සර්.
හෙක්ටයාරක ලක්ෂයකමාරක් දුන්නා.
When we provide 150,000 per hectare, the purpose is to ensure cultivation, not to spend the money on other things. We need immediate cultivation, and that drive must come from within you.
The President further instructed officials to take steps to reopen schools as soon as possible.
අධ්‍යාපන අමාත්‍යාංශයේ තීරණය කළා තියෙනවා සර් 16 වෙනිදා අපදාවට නොවුණු පළාත්වල පාසල් පටන් ගන්න. 428ක් තියෙනවා අපිට පටන් ගැනීමට හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා. කඳවුරු වල ඉන්න දරුවන්ටත් අපි උත්සාහ ගන්නේ පාසලකට කොහොම හරි යොමු කරන්න කියන එක. ඒ කියන්නේ ළඟ පාසලකට ඒ සඳහා පාසල් ලිපිද්‍රව්‍ය ටිකයි යුනිෆෝම් එකයි අපිට සපයා ගැනීම හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා.
පුළුවන් තරම් උත්සාහ කරන්න.
We must work to minimize the gap in reopening. If this gap widens, it will impact examinations. Students often complain that after spending 8 to 10 months in O-level classes, postponing exams by even 2 months is like postponing their entire life by 2 months. Therefore, we should aim to conduct examinations on schedule and reduce the gap between schools that are reopening and those that remain closed.
The President also instructed that the district's water supply be fully restored within 3 days. Until then, the people's water needs should be met through BOWSers, treating the situation as an emergency and seeking technical assistance from the Triforces.
අපේ ජල සම්පාදන ක්‍රම 20ක් තිබ්බා. ඒකෙන් 18ක්ම ආපදාවට ලක් වුණා. ඒ වෙලාවේ වැඩ කරේ ප්ලාන් දෙකක් විතරයි. මේ වෙනකොට අපි ප්ලාන් 18ක්ම ඔපරේෂනල් ලෙවල් එකට ගෙනල්ලා තියෙනවා.
තව දෙකක් ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණය කරන්න තියෙනවා.
ඔව් 18.
ඒ දෙක කවද වෙනකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ සැලසුම තියෙනවා. ඒක
සාමාන්‍යයෙන් දල වශයෙන් ගත්තොත් දින 3ක හෝ 4ක කාලය සීමාවක් ඇතුළත යථාවත් කරන්න පුළුවන්.
හැබැයි 20ම අපි විවෘත කරත් සමහර ඒ ප්‍රදේශ තියෙනවා. ඒ ප්‍රදේශවල ජල සැපයුම දෙන්න බැරි. නේද? ඒ ප්‍රදේශ කීයක් හඳුනාගෙන තියෙනවද?
දැනට ස්ථාන 5ක් විතර තමයි තියෙන්නේ.
ස්ථාන 5ක් විතර තියෙනවා. ඒ ස්ථාන පහෙන් ඉක්මනින්ම අවසන් කරන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රදේශ කීයක් තියෙනවද?
දින දෙකකට වඩා අඩු කාලයකදී මේවා කරන්න පුළුවන්. අර පන්විල ප්‍රශ්නේ ඇරුණාම.
ඒක තමයි අමාරු වෙන්නේ. ඒතකොට එතන ඉන්න ගමයට වතුර ලබා දෙන්න මොකද්ද කරන්නේ?
බවුස් සප්ලයි එකක්.
බවුස් වලින් ලබා දෙනවා. ඒතකොට තව දින 3ක් යනකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ වෝටර් බෝඩ් එකෙන් ලබා දෙන ජල සැපයුම සම්පූර්ණ යථාවත් වෙනවා. පළාත් පාලන ආයතන වලින් මෙහෙවන ජල සැපයුම් මාර්ග යථාවත් කරන්න තව කාලයක් යනවා ඔයගොල්ලෝ කියන විදිහට.
ඔව්
75ක් විතර පුළුවන්. තව සති දෙකක් විතර. ඉතුරු 25 ටිකක් අමාරු වේවද?
අපි කොහොම හරි දෙසැම්බර් 31කට කලින් ජල ව්‍යාප්තිය ටික යථා තත්ත්වයට ගන්න තමයි උත්සාහ දරන්නේ.
දෙසැම්බර් 31 වෙනකන් අපිට තියෙනවනේ පානීය ජල සපයන තැන් ටික නේද? ඒවට බවුසර් වලින් සපයනවනේ.
In addition, focus was also given to restoring essential services including highways, electricity, transportation, fuel supply, irrigation and communication systems, and the President specially appreciated the dedication of state officials and the Triforces in these efforts.
President Anurukumara Disanayake called on the Mahanayaka Theros of the Malwathu and Askiri chapters in Kandy today. At the Askiri Mahavihara, the President and the Mahanayaka Thero of the Askiri chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Barakagoda Shri Jnanaratana Thero, discussed the ongoing disaster situation and the government's efforts to restore normalcy in the country. President Anurukumara Dissanayaka visited the Malwathu Mahavihara this morning and called on the Mahanayaka Thero of the Malwathu chapter of the Siam sect, the most venerable Thippatuave Sri Sumangala Nayaka Thero. The President's media division stated that during the meeting, the President briefed the Mahanayaka Thero on the government's program to provide relief to those affected by the ongoing disaster situation.
ඉතින් මේක ඊටත් වැඩිය දෙකටම වැඩිය ලොකු එකක් මම හිතන්නේ වෙන විපත්ති. ඉතින් දීර්ඝ කාලයක් යයි මේකට.
අපි විශාල මුදල් ප්‍රමාණයක් වෙන් කරා. වුණා මේ අවුරුද්දේ අපි අපේක්ෂා කරාට වඩා වැඩි ආදායමක් ආණ්ඩුවට ලැබුණා මේ අවුරුද්දේ. ඒ නිසා අපිට ලබන අවුරුද්දට ණය ගන්නේ නැතුව අපිට මේ මුදල් ප්‍රමාණයක් ඊයේ අපි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඉදිරිපත් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ කිව්වා ලොකු මුදලක් වෙන් කළ ජනතාවට සහන දෙන්න ඕන කියලා. නිවාස ගියපු අය ඒ තැන්වල අවදානම් නම් ආපහු එතන පදිංචි වෙන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක තමයි අපි ඊළඟ හොයන්න කොහොමද ආවෙත් ඒකයි අපේ දිසාපති කාර්යාලයේ දිසාපතිතුමාලා හම්බ වෙලා නුවරයට රජයේ ඉඩම් කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ ප්‍රශ්න මොනවද කියලා බලන්න මම මේ දවස් 3ම දිස්ත්‍රික් 6කට යනවා.
The Met Department says that the final phase of the northeast monsoon is gradually establishing across the island. Meanwhile, the department has also issued an advisory for severe lightning. This advisory is in effect until 11 p.m. today.
The advisory issued by the Department of Meteorology says that thunder showers accompanied with severe lightning are likely to occur at some places in western and Sabaragamu provinces and in Gaul and Mathura districts. The general public is requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by lightning activity. Meanwhile, the Disaster Management Centre has warned the public to exercise caution as even light rainfall could lead to hazardous conditions.
The Department of Meteorology has informed that the final phase of the northeast monsoon is currently establishing. Once this monsoon becomes active, rainfall is expected in the northern, north central, eastern and Uva provinces, with totals potentially reaching up to 75 millimeters in some areas. Specifically, heavy rainfall of up to 75 millimeters may occur in Kandy, Nurelia, Mathale, Ampara, Trincomalee, Polonnaruwa and Ratnapura districts. Due to the cyclone Ditwa, rivers and streams have already reached near maximum capacity, with soil saturated and water levels high. As a result, even light or brief rainfall could trigger hazardous conditions. Although the hill country road network and other main roads across Sri Lanka have been opened, these conditions pose risks and roads could once again be affected by flooding or landslides. The public is therefore urged to exercise extreme caution or stay alert during this period.
The National Building Research Organisation has issued red alert warnings for landslides in 5 districts: Kandy, Kegaul, Kurunegala, Mathale and Nuwara.
With the ongoing rainfall, there is a high possibility that ground conditions may continue to change. Even if there is no rainfall for the next 2 or 3 days, the soil remains saturated with water. The ground in many areas is heavily soaked and early signs of landslides have already been observed. Because of these signs, even a small amount of rain in the coming days could create dangerous conditions in these locations. Therefore, the public is urged to remain in safe locations if they are already in one, and to avoid moving into high-risk areas for any activity. This is because in those vulnerable locations, the risk of earth slips, rock falls and slope collapses is extremely high. All officials of the National Building Research Organisation are currently on the ground in the relevant districts, carrying out their duties and continuing their work. Priority is being given to restoring essential services in coordination with the relevant institutions. In addition, according to the priority list of the District Secretary, all disaster-affected locations are scheduled to be inspected. This process may take several days. People are requested to remain patient and stay in their safe locations until the assessments are completed. Furthermore, various operations are taking place in certain areas such as removing loose rocks, clearing unstable soil and excavating earth under roadways. When the soil beneath a road is removed, there is a possibility that the rocks and soil above could collapse. Therefore, the public is strongly advised not to visit or gather near these work sites. Doing so could place both the workers and any bystanders at significant risk. Everyone is also urged to avoid unnecessary travel. We continue to receive telephone calls informing us that people are still living in high-risk locations and are refusing to move. They ask whether they should leave or stay. If a location has been identified as dangerous, that risk remains unchanged at this time. Similarly, some people claim that no one instructed them to evacuate or that no officials came to move them. In reality, no authority can physically take people away from such areas. It is not possible. The Department of Meteorology, the Department of Irrigation and the National Building Research Organization have all already issued the necessary warnings. Therefore, if you are living in a high-risk location, you must understand the danger. For your safety, you are requested to follow the instructions issued through these warnings and take action to protect your life.
ඔබ එම අවධානම දැනගත යුතුයි. ඒ නිසා එම අවධානම දැනගෙන ලබා දීලා තියෙන උපදෙස් නිසියාකාරව පිළිවෙල තමන්ගේ ජීවිත රැක ගන්න ලෙස ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
The Department of Irrigation says that 70 reservoirs are still being drained. The director of the Water Management Unit PSD Herat said that 36 of these are major reservoirs. Currently, 2 spill gates of the Kalaweva reservoir are open, releasing water into the Kala Oya. Meanwhile, 6 spill gates of the Rajangane reservoir were opened this morning, with water also being released into the Kala Oya. The Department of Irrigation also reported that water levels in the Malvat Oya in Tantirimale have reached minor flood levels. As a result of the disaster situation caused by Cyclone Ditwa, the death toll has risen to 618. The Disaster Management Centre announced that a further 209 people still remain missing. A total of 583,030 families have been affected. A total of 4,071 houses have been completely destroyed, while 71,121 houses have been partially damaged.
Joint relief operations for those affected by the disaster situation triggered by Cyclone Ditwa continued today as well. These efforts were carried out with the participation of the Tri-Forces, the police as well as international relief teams.
The road in Arumegundu, which was damaged by the overflow of the Malvatu Oya, was repaired with the assistance of the Sri Lanka Army. The flood-affected preschool in Kurai was cleaned and restored by army troops. Commander of the Sri Lanka Army, Lieutenant General Lasantha Rodrigo, visited Mahyanganaya to check on the welfare of the troops engaged in disaster response and relief operations. The Sri Lankan Navy assisted in repairing the water distribution pipeline system from the Madampe-Nelumpukuna water purification plant to Valahapitiya. Approximately 2,000 families will benefit from this. Meanwhile, the distribution of relief supplies airlifted for disaster-affected residents in the Kandy district was carried out with the support of the Navy. In addition, the Navy has launched a special program to restore roads and other public infrastructure damaged by the disaster. Accordingly, Navy personnel carried out clearing operations along the Kandy-Hantana Road and the Wattegama-Hathale Road.
Well, relief and recovery operations to restore normalcy after Cyclone Ditwa are still continuing uninterrupted. Key efforts include clearing blocked roads in affected districts, restoring damaged electricity connections and removing disruptions in water supply.
A massive landslide occurred in Rendipula Alla along the Valimada Nurelia Road. As a result, the Valimada Nurelia Road was completely blocked. At present, the Valimada Nurelia Road has been cleared and reopened for traffic. The landslide also destroyed Silmiapura village, located below the site. A major landslide occurred near the 87th kilometer post along the Colombo-Kandy main road, blocking the road. Efforts are undertaken to remove the displaced sand and debris, and the road has now been cleared. Both lanes of the Anuradhapura-Trincomalee A12 road, which had been blocked due to the road sinking, have now been repaired and reopened for traffic. The road in the Kalaoya area of Rajangane, which had also sunk, has also been fully restored. This is a key road connecting Jaffna, Pulmudai, Kilinochchi, Vaunia, Mana and Anuradhapura to Colombo. On the main road from the Gampula to Pusallava, a landslide created major traffic disruptions. A large sand boulder near Vagupitiya Pusallava had fallen onto the road, and Chinese disaster relief teams have worked extensively to clear it. In the Arunayaka Ambalakanda area, landslides have forced residents of the Dotaloya village to use alternative routes and walk to reach their destinations. Meanwhile, residents of houses affected by the disaster continued today to clean their homes and business premises. With the Kalani River water level receding, flooded areas in Vallampitiya have now cleared. This was the situation in Kotikawata.
Deputy Minister of Irrigation Aravinda Senarath says that the damage caused to the country's irrigation system due to the disaster exceeds 13 billion rupees. Meanwhile, under the supervision of relevant officials, rapid restoration has now begun on breached sections, major irrigation projects, main canals, sub-canals and smaller canals that lead to paddy fields. This is being done urgently with the aim of resuming cultivation for the current season as soon as possible. Deputy Minister Aravinda Senarath stated that information has been received confirming damage to 70 medium-scale reservoirs, 88 associated canals and sluice gates, 18 anicuts and 216 canal systems due to the recent disaster. He noted that repairs to these damages have already begun to ensure paddy cultivation in the Maha season can resume. The Department of Irrigation reported that repairs have been completed on the breached southern canal of the Rajangane reservoir and water release has resumed. During the recent heavy flooding, the southern canal embankment carrying water from the Rajangane reservoir had collapsed near the Rajangane Divisional Secretariat. The paddy cultivation affected covers approximately 7,000 acres. Accordingly, the Department of Irrigation commenced work to construct a temporary sand embankment with the full labour contribution of the local farmers. Around 3,000 farmers in the area began work on the embankment about 3 days ago, and by yesterday afternoon, 15,000 sandbags had been used to complete the temporary embankment. The effort received coordinated support from the Sri Lanka Army, Rajangane Pradeshi Sabha, Rajangane Divisional Secretariat and other government agencies, while 64 local farmers' organizations and students from the Tambuthegama National School also contributed to the work.
During these past few days, the contributions from everyone exceeding our expectations. This program to safeguard the crops of our farmers was launched at a national level, but we actually saw this as a civic responsibility that we had to fulfill for the country. As farmers of Rajangane, this is the responsibility we have now carried out. A temporary embankment has been constructed to supply water in the Rajangane project area. Approximately 5,000 acres of land were completely destroyed. Of this, around 3,500 acres needs to be cultivated for the second planting cycle. In reality, there are over 20,000 acres of land that cannot be cultivated at all, meaning the land has been entirely destroyed. Therefore, supplying water to the remaining cultivable acres as well as the acres for the second planting cycle is an essential requirement. This is why we mobilized labor and obtained the cooperation of institutions so that the work could be carried out effectively.
The Department of Irrigation reported that repairs have begun on the collapsed sections of the Minneria Yoda Ala embankment in Alahara using sandbags. The area affected by the embankment breach includes approximately 14,000 acres of paddy. Repair work is being carried out with the support from the Department of Irrigation, the Sri Lanka Army and local farmers' labour contributions. Today, to monitor the work, several government officials visited the site, including Deputy Minister of Housing, Construction and Water Supply T.B. Sarath and Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, Lands and Irrigation K.D. Lal Kantha.
Approximately 14,000 acres of the Mahaveli G zone are cultivated through this anicut. At present, it's impossible to start the full work, but the farmers, the army, civil organizations and the Department of Irrigation are all working hard from top to bottom. We are confident that by the 14th, we will be able to resume water supply here. Our Alahara anicut is the main source of water for Giritale, Minneria, Kaudulla and Kantale reservoirs. Currently obtaining sufficient water for these reservoirs is difficult. Minneria and Kaudulla have adequate water for this operation, but Kantale reservoir only has enough for approximately 2 more weeks.
Meanwhile, damage has been reported to 1,160 small tanks under the Department of Agrarian Development. Commissioner General of Agrarian Development, Damika Ranatunga, stated that 125 of these tanks have been severely damaged, while 747 small-scale tanks have been partially damaged. The majority of the affected small-scale tanks are in the Anuradhapura, Baunia and Kurunagala districts. He also confirmed that a rapid reconstruction program has been launched to repair these tanks based on priority.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
Valuable FD, the symbol of stability. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability.
The Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra continues today, marking its 9th consecutive day of operations.
From the MTV MBC head office premises at Braybrook Street in Colombo, the Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra convoy set out this morning to assist people affected by the disaster in Kothmali. After a challenging journey, our team reached Kothmali this evening and delivered aid consignments to people amid difficult conditions. Under the coordination of the Kothmali Divisional Secretariat, government officials, including Gramanildaris and development officers from all villages, actively supported the relief program. Despite the hardships, the services rendered by the state officials for the people deserve our highest appreciation. The relief mission covered several areas in Kothmali, including Devatagas Kotasa and Kitul Badda, which have been without electricity for the past 10 days due to the disaster. All aid was successfully distributed to the affected communities. The Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra convoy set out today to deliver aid to people on the other sides of Daduru Oya, departing from the Department Broadcasting Centre. Aid was distributed today to residents in several villages, including Aryagama, Naryagama and Mugunuvatawana. Today, the Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra convoy continued its operations from multiple centres, including the Sirasa headquarters premises at Braybrook Place, Colombo, the Department Broadcasting Centre and the Kandy KCC premises, and the Special Centre at Gaul Kahaduwatta Junction. Aid collected at the Special Centre in Gaul Kahaduwatta Junction was brought to the Sirasa head office premises this evening. This afternoon, nearly 4,250 inmates at Mahara Prison, along with officials, donated their lunch and contributed to helping the disaster-affected communities. They handed over dry food supplies worth over 400,000 rupees to the relief convoy at the Sirasa headquarters.
ඉල්ලීමක් තිබුණා මේ විපතට පත්තු ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් ඔවුන්ගේ දිවා ආහාර වේලක් පරිත්‍යාග කරන්න මගෙන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරා හැමෝගෙම ඉල්ලීමක් තිබ්බා මේ ආයතනයට ගෙනලා ඒ ලබා දුන්නොත් ඒ කර්තව්‍ය සාර්ථකව සිදුවේ කියන බලාපොරොත්තුවෙන් අද ඔබ ආයතනයට ඇවිල්ලා මේ ද්‍රව්‍ය පරිත්‍යාග කිරීම සිදු කරා.
The Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra. Sri Lanka needs you. Please donate the following dry rations and help those who need it the most. Rice, dal, noodles, soya meat, canned fish and biscuits. You can hand over these items at the following collection points: the MTV head office, Braybrook Place, Colombo 2, the Deparnama Studio Complex in Panipitia, the Kandy City Centre in Kandy. For further inquiries, please call 076 552 5000. Together, we can make a difference.
Newsfirst with the people. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability.
Now, a circular for urgent relief measures to restore the lives of people affected as well as displaced by Cyclone Ditwa was issued by the government last night. The announcement of these relief measures came just hours after President Anurukumara Dissanayake highlighted them while addressing Parliament yesterday ahead of the vote on the third reading of the 2026 appropriation bill. The circular grants authority to implement relief measures covering all sectors affected by the disaster, including families, individuals, businesses and production activities. The relief measures include a one-time allowance of 25,000 rupees per household to clean damaged homes, a one-time allowance of 50,000 rupees per household to purchase household appliances for resettlement. For families who have lost their homes or whose homes are completely destroyed, families with 2 or fewer members, 25,000 rupees per member for 3 months. Families with more than 2 members, 50,000 rupees per member for 3 months. For homeowners without a residence, a maximum of 6 months rent allowance, 25,000 rupees per month. For crop damage, one-time payment of 150,000 rupees per hectare for destroyed paddy fields. One-time payment of 200,000 rupees for destroyed vegetable plots. For registered livestock farmers, one-time payment of 200,000 rupees per farm. For disaster-affected small and micro businesses, one-time payment of 200,000 rupees per business. For damaged fishing boats, 400,000 rupees per boat. For school students, allowances to purchase books, uniforms and school supplies. For damaged commercial buildings, up to 5 million rupees per unit based on damage assessment. For completely destroyed houses, 5 million rupees per unit to build a new house, or if government land is not available, to purchase a suitable plot. For partially damaged homes, 2.5 million rupees per household based on the damage assessment. For loss of life or total disability, 1 million rupees will be provided to the closest relative of the deceased or to a fully disabled individual. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has instructed commercial banks to suspend the repayment of principal and/or interest on existing credit facilities for borrowers affected by the recent disaster for a period of 3 to 6 months, taking into account the disaster situation. Licensed banks have also been instructed not to charge interest above the contracted rate during the suspension period and to ensure that no interest is applied to deferred payments. After the suspension period ends, borrowers will be given a minimum grace period of 3 months before resuming repayments, and the new repayment schedules will be arranged accordingly. In addition, commercial banks have been instructed not to charge any interest on overdue payments during this period. The Inspector General of Police, meanwhile, has instructed authorities to prevent the forcible seizure of essential food items and other goods that are being transported to assist disaster-affected communities.
The IGP has issued these instructions in a circular to the Senior Deputy Inspector Generals of Police in charge of the provinces, Inspectors of Police Headquarters and all police OICs. The IGP has taken this step following information by the Commissioner General of Essential Services regarding several incidents of the forcible seizure of relief aid packages being transported to be given to those in need. Accordingly, the IGP emphasizes that maximum measures should be taken within the police jurisdiction to prevent the forcible abduction of such goods en route. The instructions issued by the IGP also state that if such an incident is reported, investigations should be conducted immediately and strict legal action should be taken against the relevant personnel.
And in more local news, 5 suspects and 2 fishing boats that were carrying ice and heroin have been apprehended in Cultivation under the nationwide initiative A Nation United. This operation was conducted by the Sri Lanka Navy. The arrested suspects were also brought to the press conference.
A fishing vessel and 2 individuals on board were arrested in a special operation carried out by the Sri Lanka Navy last evening. In the further course of the operation, another fishing vessel that came to assist the aforementioned fishing vessel was arrested along with another 2 individuals. Accordingly, a total of 2 fishing vessels, 4 individuals and a consignment of suspected illegal drugs were taken into our custody. Further investigation revealed that the illegal drugs seized included ice and heroin.
හෙළිවෙනවා මේ අත්අඩංගුවටගත් තහනම් මද්ද්‍රව්‍ය අතර අයිස් සහ හෙරොයින් තියෙන බවට.
අද වෙන විට මහජනතාව මේ රට මේකට ජාතික වැඩපිළිවෙලට
Today the public is providing trusted and reliable information to the A Nation United program even during these times of disaster. Additionally, the Sri Lanka Police is planning to implement a program in the future to reward these people for their valuable information, and the results are followed by investigations.
මේ වන විට අපි සැකකරුවන් 5 දෙනෙක් අත්අඩංගුවට අරගෙන ඉන්නවා.
So far we have arrested 5 suspects, 14 kilograms of drugs suspected to be heroin and nearly 63 kilograms of drugs suspected to be ice have been taken into custody by the Police Narcotics Bureau for further investigation. At the same time, in conjunction with the nationwide drug operation, so far we have made 35,855 arrests. Of those, 268 kilograms of heroin have been seized and 12,000 suspects have been arrested. Meanwhile, 13,433 suspects have been arrested in connection with ice. As a subtotal, we have seized nearly 1,000 kilograms of ice, 994 to be specific. 944 people have been referred for rehabilitation. In addition, 1,754 kilos of heroin have been seized since January this year. 3,535 kilos of ice have been seized. 15,875 kilos of cannabis have been seized. Compared to last year, this is a larger seizure than the previous year.
අත්අඩංගුවට ගෙන තියෙනවා. මෙය පෙර වර්ෂයට වඩා විශාල අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීම.
The Ministry of Public Administration, Provincial Councils and Local Government of Sri Lanka has announced an immediate suspension of approvals for both domestic and foreign unpaid leave for public officials. This decision was communicated in a circular issued by the Secretary to the Ministry, S. Aloka Bandara. Following the cabinet decision on the 24th of November, the government of Sri Lanka has revoked the public administration circular that allowed public officials to take unpaid domestic and foreign leave for up to 5 years without affecting seniority or pension, effective from the 22nd of June 2022. Officials currently on leave may continue only for the period that was originally approved. Fresh deadly border clashes have broken out between Pakistan and Afghanistan's Taliban forces, with both sides accusing each other of breaking a fragile ceasefire. Residents fled the Afghan city of Spilboldak overnight, which lies along the 1,600-mile border the two countries share. An Afghan official said on Saturday that an overnight exchange of fire killed 4 civilians. Additionally, the governor of Spilboldak district said 4 others were also injured. Sporadic fighting has repeatedly broken out between the two in recent months, while Afghanistan's Taliban government has also accused Pakistan of carrying out airstrikes inside the country. Both sides have confirmed they exchanged fire overnight, but each blamed the other for the beginning of the 4 hours of fighting. Musharraf Zaidi, a spokesperson for Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, accused the Taliban of unprovoked firing. The statement continued, quote, "An immediate, befitting and intense response has been given by our armed forces. Pakistan remains fully alert and committed to ensuring its territorial integrity and the safety of our citizens," unquote. Meanwhile, a Taliban spokesperson said Pakistan had once again initiated attacks and said it was forced to respond. Footage from the area showed a large number of Afghans fleeing on foot and in vehicles, with people in neighboring towns also living in fear of the renewed fighting spreading. The overnight clashes came less than 2 months after both sides agreed to a ceasefire mediated by Qatar and Turkey. It ended the worst fighting between Pakistan and the Taliban since the group returned to power in 2021, though tensions have remained high. And that's a wrap of our prime time news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Take care. Good night.